Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Rowe,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller,
Present.
Councilman Racy,
Here.
Councilman Porter,
Here.
Councilman Sanders,
Present.
Councilman Gabriel,
Present.
Councilman Webster.
Here.
You do have a quorum with all 7 members present. Item 1 is to approve the agenda.
Mayor Rowe,
Yes.
I would ask that we table item F.
It's already gone.
Okay.
It's gone.
All right, thank you.
Do we have a
Moved
motion?
in to approve the current agenda.
Support.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem and supported by Councilman Racy. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 2 are city council minutes. Item 2A are the study session minutes of April 12th.
Move approval. Support.
And moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. Any discussion, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 2B, the regular meeting minutes of April 17th.
Move approval.
Support.
And moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Webster. Any corrections, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3 are general items for consideration. Item 3A is to approve a letter of understanding with the Technical Professional and Office Workers Association of Michigan. We refer to that as TPOM.
Move approval. Support.
Been moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Porter. Mr. Queen?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
What you have before you, it's a letter of understanding between the city and TPOM. There's several things there that are listed that we worked with the union in conjunction with them to kind of clean up some language, as well as one of them is a case that would have went to arbitration over one of the work rules in their contract. And so to kind of keep the city out of a costly arbitration as well. We combined it with several things that we kind of needed from TPOM, as well as the basically dismissing that arbitration case is what took place here. So what you have in front, like I said, is it cleaned up with some language because the city right now, we're having difficulty with the hiring process of hiring employees. So we, in the original contract, for our on-call system, there's a numbering system that said we needed so many heavy equipment operators and so many laborers to have the on-call system. So as part of that, we cleaned up that language not to include a number anymore, because currently we're not able to staff those numbers because we've already had 3 postings for job opportunities, and we've only hired we hired 2 individuals. One didn't work out, and then we currently are looking at another individual right now, but we still have an empty vacancy to fill one more position to kind of get us to that this number of 12 that we had before, which is works for our department to do that. And so, unable to do some of those things, we also, in agreement with TPOM, we changed we included in the pay scale, created a new level there for laborers. We had laborer 2s and laborer 4s. The laborer 4s are the heavy equipment operators. Laborer 3s, in addition to their day-to-day responsibilities, they're going to be doing some other responsibilities at starting to run some of the heavy equipment just in the yard alone, just to help us on water main breaks and things like that, because we don't have the staffing levels like that we normally had before. So that's going to help us out with that portion, as well as create an increase in pay for that laborer 3 pay scale portion. So all those things coming together helps us to keep the arbitration out of going to arbitration, as well as having the individual be able to perform some of those tasks and possibly get them up to at a later date up to a labor force status by getting them used to the equipment that they would be using just in the yard, not out on the job, not for excavating. They're just basically loading salt and then some other materials in the yard that we would need out on a job to assist us as well. So all those things combined is what this letter of understanding is we are looking at. So
Okay.
does anybody have any
Yep.
questions?
Any questions? No? Okay, it's been moved by, let's see,
Councilman Racy.
Racy, and then supported by
Councilman Porter.
Councilman Porter. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 3B. This is to approve a professional service agreement with Stantec Consulting for an amount not to exceed $1,500 to write and submit a grant application to be paid from the major road budget.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Webster. And Mr. Byton?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, last year we applied for a grant for resurfacing the Hicks Road Bridge and the Second Street Bridge. The Hicks Road Bridge was approved for the 2020 construction season. The Second Street Bridge was not approved at that time, but we're hopeful by reapplying this year that we may receive funding for resurfacing of Second Street for the 2021 construction season. Stantec has done bridge inspections for us every other year for quite some time, so they're intimately familiar with these bridges, and so that's why we chose them for this professional service agreement.
Are there any questions? No? Okay. It was moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Webster. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then this is the second portion, I believe, is to item 3C, approve a resolution to commit to the required match funds for the proposed 2021 bridge deck replacement project on the Second Street Bridge.
Move approval.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Gabriel.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, so when communities have applied for a grant in the past, they've not always had the match money to commit to following through with that once they receive the opportunity for the grant. So this resolution is just to make sure council is aware of the grant application process and that they're willing to support this through our road millage fund if we do get the grant.
Okay. Any further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And item 3B is to approve a resolution with Wayne County to grant permission to 32940 Michigan Avenue, which is Taco Bell, to comply with the stormwater management requirements. And in the agreement is, number one, that the city will assume the jurisdiction of the stormwater management system and all associated maintenance responsibilities. And two, the city of Wayne shall authorize the city manager or his designee to sign the permit on behalf of the city.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Webster. Mr. Byton?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, anytime a long-term stormwater management project comes into our community, like the one here at Taco Bell, Wayne County permits that, but they also require that the municipality be responsible for the long-term maintenance of that facility. Before we're willing to enter into that agreement, we first require that the owner of that long-term stormwater maintenance facility be responsible, and any lack of maintenance would be their responsibility. If we had to take over, then we would turn the cost back over to them. So it's us trying to comply with Wayne County and us also making sure that the owner, in this case of Taco Bell, takes care of their stormwater system.
Any questions?
Madam Mayor, I just have a quick question, just for, maybe it's to the attorney. Instead of saying city manager or his designee, should we say their designee to make it gender neutral?
Are you referencing our contract?
At least here.
Oh, I don't know who, that's the memo that was, I didn't draft that.
Okay.
I normally sign them, so that's why I put his, but I can
Okay.
certainly change that. I apologize. I can switch that
to make-
moving
Either-
forward.
I mean,
Just so you know, to make us all feel better, on all of our city contracts, there's always a provision at the end that says, in the event that we've referred to anyone in a masculine or feminine gender, that it's intended to be the opposite, to try to cover those
Okay.
mistakes, so that we can keep a template or a form that,
Right.
that can be universal in that regard. So I know the contract itself probably addresses that issue. That was the memo, which I think Mr. Biden may have drafted that.
Okay.
Moving forward, I'll change that, though, if that's the wish of the council. I'd
Sure,
appreciate it.
no,
Change it.
no worries.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Brighton.
The next item is item 3E. I also placed some additional information at your places to go with this item.
Okay.
Item 3E is to approve Budget Amendment 2018-06.
Wish
Move
of
approval.
It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by Councilman Racy. Or did, oh, do you want to just give a brief overview?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We just have a few items that we're moving on the budget as finance tracks where we need to add, where we're missing items or not spending, and also directors let us know. So in the general fund, we had a couple of grant dollars that we added into the budget that weren't in there yet, and we received payment for, or expecting to receive payment for. And then on the expense side, we added in the expenses for those grants. We also received a one-time state appropriation to the road and street agencies, so that's what's going into the local road fund. Did you have any questions?
I just have one. The local streets, is that for Act 51 money?
Yes.
Any other questions? No? Okay. All right. It was moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by Councilman Racy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 4, Administration Reports.
Through the chair, I just have a couple tonight. I did want to thank the council for sending me their budget recommendations. I did email those today, and I just ask if you could review them and provide feedback either to the mayor or myself. That would be great. And then there was a question at the last meeting about collection of budget items or other documentation, Mrs. Brock, from other committees. And I believe that was because DDA information was requested as far as the budget. Currently, this is not being done with library and others, but it can certainly be requested by the council. So I hope that answers your question. You're welcome. That's it, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Now,
Okay, the next item are citizens' comments or requests on items not on the agenda. Citizens are to limit their comments or requests to 3 minutes. The city council asks that if you do have a question or concern, to bring it to the attention of the appropriate departments whenever possible. If you feel that the matter has not been resolved satisfactorily, you're encouraged to bring it to the attention of the city manager, and if still not resolved satisfactorily, to the mayor and the city council. The mayor, the city council, and the department heads may not respond to the questions at the meeting, but will respond by the next city council meeting or as soon as possible once they have looked into the matter.
yes.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening. How are
Left
you?
my prison outfit at home. As you all know, we got to have some fun, right? As we all know, there is a very important day next week, next Tuesday, May 8th. We, the sovereign people, will be the judge of an election. The most important judge probably in the history of Wayne. No, I'm not a judge because I know I can get in trouble. We have an officer of the court here. I have a higher authority than that. I am a sovereign people. This document here gives me that authority, and I'm exercising my First Amendment rights. Another thing, through the chair, so I'm not being accused of not properly addressing the chair, through the city manager, I did have Ordinance Officer Brandon Braun come out and do a follow-up. Very awesome guy. He's doing a great job. So getting back to the election, it's extremely important. Every vote matters. Make your voice heard. I'm not up here endorsing one candidate or the other. I'm letting the people be the judge of that on May 8th. And for that, I yield back the balance of my time. Thank you. Have a good evening. God bless America. God bless the Constitution of the United States. And God bless the sovereign people that reside within the corporation of Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwell. Anyone else? Yes.
Just want to remind everyone of the Champions of Wayne 5K this Friday at the high school. I'm going to be participating. I can't say I'm going to run the whole time. I'm not in shape like I used to be, but I'll be there. I'd like to encourage everyone else to come out there too. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. My name's Robert. Yesterday I got this in the mail, but actually where I got it was out of the trash can. The simple fact is, Chris, if you had people send this out, you didn't put any apartment addresses on there, or apartment numbers. I found mine in the trash. I find it a disgrace that you want to dog these other citizens that sit on the council. It's really bad. I hope everybody does get out and vote. I'd like to see you gone. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, move the agenda.
Okay, the next item is item 5, items for the next agenda.
Anyone have anything? No? Okay.
Right. Then the next item is item 6, the consent calendar. There are 3 items before us this evening.
Wish of council?
Move that exception.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Webster. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item are comments from the members of the city council. You all have 3 minutes. As a reminder.
We'll go with Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Thank you. I'm going to just start off and mention we had an Arbor Day event with the children at the Hoover Elementary, and we planted 2 trees there, and it was a beautiful day for that. And it was even more beautiful just seeing the children so engaged in about our environment and learning about recycling and so many other things about things that we just generally take for granted. And it's good to see that the school and the administration there, the teachers as well, that they instill that good learning experience for them. Also, I want to thank especially, as well as many others, I continuously see this as I drive around the city. People sweeping up the streets, people cleaning up around their homes. They're cleaning it, fixing it, painting it, sprucing it up. They're taking pride in this community, and I can't say thank you enough. I think that I see more, and I see more, and I see more individuals. Just this past Sunday at 10 a.m., a group of individuals, one of them was Brian, and I hope I pronounced his name correctly, Haddad. He steered a volunteer group at one of our parks in doing a cleanup, and it's just very encouraging to see that sort of people coming together in this community on that. So other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Racy?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. It's been mentioned this week that I'm the president of the Rotary, which I am, and with that, I just wanted to read the four-way test of the Rotary. And this is something that the Rotarians live by. The four-way test of things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? I think those are words that everybody should live by. And I also wanted to mention something about the Arbor Day event. That was really nice event. Thank you to the DPW who do a great job in putting that all together for us and Hoover Elementary. We were able to get the Rotarians involved this year, and we actually did 50 saplings for the kids, so they were all able to take a tree home that'll grow up to 50 feet by the time at some point in their life, way down the road, but which was pretty cool. The kids seemed to have a really good time. And one of the kids even said he was going to name his tree Daryl, so I thought that was kind of cute. But and then I also heard from the Baseball Association, where we're working on the baseball fields at Forest Park, and I want to say that so far so good. Everybody seems to be very happy in the Baseball Association. Just wanted to pass that along to the DPW, and everybody's working on that. It looks really good and headed towards baseball season, and people are pretty excited about that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, I too just want to remind people that there is a special election on May 8th, and for people in wards 1 and 2, you vote at Hoover. If you're in wards 3 and 6, you vote at Wayne Memorial. And 4 and 5, in wards 4 and 5, you go to Taft Galloway. This is a very important election. It's a very special recall election for a very special councilman. Thank you.
Councilman Porter?
Thank you, Mayor. John touched on the baseball fields. I was over yesterday, and I believe they were finishing them up today. They were working on the new T-ball field, so Forest Park looks really good. It's got 3 brand-new surfaces on the infield. They mowed the grass in the park today, so that looks good, so it's really looking up. The Arbor Day celebration, I missed it. I got to get my secretary to start reminding me of these things. I just can't quite remember them all the time. But I was at it last year, and I'm sure it was just as wonderful as it was last year. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Councilman Gabriel?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing tonight.
Councilman Webster?
Just one thing tonight. I'm sure if any of you have been watching the news, you know, there was a fire over in Westland. I know it doesn't have anything to necessarily do with Wayne, but unfortunately, you know, 2 people lost their lives, and they were very young. They were, I believe, 27 and 21. They were engaged to be married in October. So, you know, this is just kind of a good reminder to, you know, check your smoke detectors, make sure you have a good fire extinguisher, and just be mindful of what you're doing. If you're tired, don't put something in the oven and maybe forget about it, because you never know what could happen, and, you know, it might cost you your life or cost someone else their life. So just be cognizant of fire safety. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Sanders?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Today, I went to the Conference of Western Wayne Lansing Legislative Day, so I was up in Lansing all day. And up there, we met with Representative Noble, Representative Laura Cox, Representative Bob Kozowski, and Senator David Kniezek. And while we were there, we touched on the legislative priorities for the Conference of Western Wayne, which included, again, of course, revenue sharing, municipal finance, infrastructure funding, the Michigan Tax Tribunal in regards to dark stores legislation, stormwater overflow, and the marijuana rules that are now in effect, and how the legislature is still looking into some of those and fine-tuning some of those. All of the representatives that we spoke with were, as usual, very willing to listen to us, appreciative that we were up there, and stressed the fact how important it is for local elected officials to email them when there is something that's happening in Lansing that's important to the local community. Give them a phone call. They really do pay attention to the local elected officials. They feel that they have the pulse of the communities that they represent. We had a luncheon at the Michigan Municipal League headquarters, and that was fun. Got to talk to some of the different sponsors of the luncheon, met some interesting corporate sponsors, and learned of some new, actually a new refuse collection company. And so that was interesting to speak with them. They've only been in Michigan since 2012, but it was just interesting to speak to them and find out about their trash collection. Also, I received a letter from David Steinhauer from Professional Insurance Associates, and he asked that I read this. It is, "Dear Mayor and City Council, I'm writing you to praise the work of the Department of Public Works, Fire Department, and the Police Department employees. They did for handling the April 20th truck accident on Wayne Road. The accident happened at approximately 9:15 a.m. A U.S. Postal Service truck hit 3 light poles and 4 large flower planters in front of his office. The glass, metal, and dirt from the light poles and planters covered approximately the one whole block of Wayne Road. The police department, fire department, and DPW were on the scene within minutes of the accident. The driver of the truck was immediately attended to by the EMTs. The police were rerouting traffic away from the accident, and DPW was ready to start the cleanup. Once the accident investigation was completed, the DPW crew began the cleanup. From the time the accident happened until the time everything was cleaned up could not have been more than an hour and a half. Please be sure to let all the City of Wayne employees know how much we appreciate their hard work. Sincerely, David Steinhauer." I'll pass this down to the city manager, and if you could make copies for the various departments.
Wonderful, thank you.
And with that, I would just like to remind everyone, please do vote on May the 8th. It is your constitutional right to do it, and please be informed when you go to the polls. With that,
Motion to adjourn.
it was moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody? We are adjourned.